Hi everyone, it's Allison here, also known as Lasan Faye, and today I'm here for a flip through of my fourth bullet journal. I know I finished this bullet journal back in June, and it kind of shows like how up and down my life was for the first 6 months of the year, but I kind of want to dive into that and show you all like what's been happening with it. So, table of contents I actually kept fairly well up to date, kind of stopping in June. But June was hectic and crazy, and so it made sense. And then I was in a new bullet journal, and it didn't matter. So, the What I Know, which of course I did backwards, but embraced and ran with it anyway. This was a nice spread, and I think if I were going to do another bullet journal with this kind of setup towards the front, I would do this again. But obviously with my current bullet journal, I have a very different future log than usual, and so this was no longer necessary. However, this was nice to have since I was originally running a Calendex and wanting to keep track of everything and having everything that I knew from my previous bullet journal already listed up front in this one, even though, so I had something that ended in June, namely the spring quarter, but nothing was going on in May. I had no idea what other June plans I had at that time. But you know, that's the way it works. Sometimes you do know that far in advance and sometimes you don't. I really love how this Calendex came out. This is probably my favorite Calendex I've ever done, if I'm being completely honest. I think it's so pretty. But still like fairly minimal. Though the color code got annoying to me after a while, just because it was like, oh right, I should be using this color for this thing. Then my goals for the year, the reasonable, manageable goals that I could have, and I managed to already finish 3 of them by the time June hit. And the rest of them I'm still working on. So, that's how that is. Then my monthly check-in, I didn't use it as much as I should. And the monthly rhythm page I didn't use as much as I should. It's why I didn't carry them forward, though I like the idea of them. I just didn't utilize them the way I needed to. The project forecast, actually, as I said, this was a useful spread. It's why I did make a similar one in my current bullet journal. I just changed the orientation of it. Because this is obviously way too much space. But when I initially was coming up with the idea for this, I didn't see how to make it fit like the way that I have it now. So then January started, and I got through as much as I could. This was a short week because I think I went to a conference. I think so. And then my winter term started, and not much happened in winter term other than me doing research, though I did accomplish 3 of my main goals. This last goal was another goal for my dissertation, and it was a stretch goal. I knew it was a stretch goal when I put it on there. It's why it's not broken down like the rest of these are. It was more of a, oh hey, if I get around to this, I'd like to do this. And then my schedule, which was for me, You know, it's what I needed at that time, and I wanted to see where my time was going. No. This was the week I was at the conference, because I have almost nothing in here, and I totally forgot to write down all the sessions I went to. And also, as a result, very little planning that week. And then the first week where I was actually in school, tried to do a weekly habit tracker, and I started falling off the bandwagon on that fairly quickly. Just some daily pages, a weekly that I didn't completely fill out. I did get my tasks sorted, but the rest of it just wasn't coming together. More dailies. My pay it forward, or my savings tracker goal, so paying the money into respective accounts in order to pay it off or save it, or pay it forward to some future day for me. I revisited it a couple of times, probably not as much as I could have. At the same time, my situation changed. I stopped needing to worry about my summer rent so much, because about, literally the day before the term ended, I got a job over the summer. But I spent, the month leading up to that thinking I had no job this summer. So that actually became a non-issue. I have been paying my LASIK surgery off bit by bit, and while it's nice to kind of see, oh yeah, this is how much I've done so far, I also am like, it's automated, I know it exists, it's there, I kind of want to ignore it. And then I never went back to correct my savings. And so February started. I actually love how the lettering for February came out. That was exactly what I wanted to accomplish there. Still my usual setup, and just dailies. I took a me day, and on that me day, I happened to get work done. I happened to play games, set up this week, and apparently wash my underclothes. Yeah. So, that is what I have here. Oh, right. I was having people come over for drinks that night. I was like, why do I have this huge chunk that's finished by 9 p.m.? It's because I'm having drinks with friends and I was hosting. More dailies. I wanted to fill in some space, so I drew a little corner of a mandala. And then another daily. And then this is all the planning I did for a game series, Mass Effect, that I was playing blind on my gaming channel. I say was, even though the videos are still coming out, but I've actually finished playing the game now. Well, I finished playing the first game. I'm now going to play the rest. But I did a good chunk of my planning in here, and the things that I needed to do before I could actually start filming. Because last thing on this to-do list is to start. So another weekly, 2 days, a little bit of journaling, because my surgery was the Wednesday of this week, and I kind of wanted to say, hey, I had surgery, and I couldn't see for several days. But now I see great, which is amazing. Week 7, these were my tasks, these were my appointments, and I knew a lot was coming up over the next week and the next month, and I would just I needed to dump it all out, and I thought with my weekly spread, that's where I can put it. And then this also contributed back in to my tasks for the week. So that was my philosophy there. And just more dailies, packing lists, and then I get to March. And March was first month, I think, that I tried doing a waiting on list. That was entertaining. I know, I have crossed out here, it says Dad's gift. That's because my dad had ordered me a gift for Valentine's Day that USPS proceeded to lose. And then the day after we reported it to the company, and they're like, okay, we'll refund you your money, and they refunded my dad his money, it showed up. I don't have easy access to it, but it's a little, it's a necklace that has a heart on it on a Cartesian grid, except the grid's not there, though the X and Y axes are, and the equation that produces the heart, which, because I'm a mathematician, my dad, it helped inspire my love for mathematics. It was a really sweet gift. And I'm glad it actually made it to me. So, yeah. So I got through this month where I did a lot of filming for my gaming channel, and I did try to do Zendoodle with me, though, back in March. Totally forgot about that. And then another weekly, more dailies. I tried doing a weekly check-in this week and I think the following week. Because I felt the need to check in with myself to see how I was doing. Some of these sound really bad, like fixed broken case. Well, that was a broken case in my research. So, and I figured out how it works. And here, I don't know how well it picks up on camera, but I was testing ink. This is the Nitrogen by Organic Studios. So it looks like this really deep navy blue. Generally, but if you tilt it just right, it actually shines red. So I'd just gotten that ink, I think that Saturday. And oh man, it was so much fun to play with. Then more weeklies, Pi Day, because of course, I have to celebrate Pi Day. The Med Taper Tracker, that's actually really hard to say quickly, was for my eye medication, so that way I could go off of it, even though I didn't keep everything tracked perfectly, because I think I was at a conference this week, and then I was on spring break this week, or it was it split wonkily, and, but I did everything successfully, and my eyes are in great condition. But that's what this was for, was as for more follow-up with my LASIK surgery. And then finals week, because that was the week I was gone, I just wrote down what the tasks were, and I was gone for a conference, and I have written over here a lot of names of mathematicians whose talks I wanted to go back and review the topics on. But to maintain privacy, because they don't know that I produce these videos, I've opted to cover them up. And then things to look at were things I learned about at the conference to pursue for the sake of job opportunities this year. And then I get to April, and April passes me by just as quickly as everything else. Spring break happened, and while I was on spring break, I did this, what was it? I think it was by the Evo team. They have 4 brain types, and they design planners for the different brain types. Not sponsored, by the way, just this is where I'm getting this from. And like there were several ads on Facebook and Instagram. If you're on any of those platforms, you've probably seen them too. But the brain type I was assigned was the Oracle, and like I wrote out like what it said my core needs were, and like I do agree with these things. Like the core needs that I have in regards to planning, my superpowers in regards to planning and what I can accomplish, and my weaknesses, so things I need to be aware of in regards to how I do stuff. And that led me to brainstorming different things that I could do for planning. And so this was like the initial brainstorm there. And then if you've seen my other Plan With Me videos, you'll know that eventually I swapped around my layout on each page and started doing a page per day, and I broke it up this way. And that was something that helped. So spring term, set up my research tasks. I like stopped coming back to this page after a while. I accomplished 2 of these things, but I never like went back to check them off. I never wrote in my schedule. And so week 1 of spring term, this is like the first time I've like now swapped over my weekly, so that the stuff that usually took up a lot of space over here but wasn't really utilized is now only on half the page. And then I can break up the tasks into personal, school, YouTube, and research. At the time, those were the categories that made sense. They still make sense now, but I needed to refine my categories further, which is why I don't completely use this anymore. But I use the idea behind this. And so down here, I was tracking Pomodoros. I did a lot of work that night in regards to my research. I tried saying, okay, in this stuff here, I want to accomplish this at this time. Yeah, that doesn't work so well for me. Some things I accomplished, some things I definitely didn't. And then for the weekend, I was like, I don't want to like make a new page for each day in the weekend and then have like a blank page. So I'm like, okay, well, I'll put the weekend on one page. That was the thought process. So another weekly, more dailies, blank page because I didn't feel like planning for the weekend. Another weekly, lots of dailies, daily week, daily. And here I started boxing in my research because those were my priorities. Like, if nothing else got done, that was what I was supposed to work on that day. And even though this only has a partial line through it, it means I started it and definitely just saying, oh, this theorem that I'm supposed to be looking at and breaking apart and down, it was not reasonable for me to expect to do all of that in one day. So, and then of course I went back. I did finish it. I was able to talk with my advisor because my usual advising meeting was on Wednesdays. And then I didn't box this one because I was just like, edit. Like, just do it. Friday. I was really happy it was Friday. And now we're in May. So, again, more dailies. I didn't even bother writing what day this was. I don't even know what day this was. Probably Friday, actually. Because I'm not meeting with my advisor on that day, and I did a lot of filming. So, blank page, weekly. You can start to see how I'm like getting really, really busy dealing with everything. Here, I wrote out some of my flight plans and stuff because I flew out to Texas, which is where my family's from, and had a girls' generations weekend with my mom, her half-sister, her half-sister's sister. It's a very confusing family tree, and their moms, and like it was 3 generations of women, and we actually finally had a 4th generation because my cousin gave birth last March, and so I got to meet my I guess, what is it, first cousin once removed. But yeah, it was first cousin once removed. That's what it is. So we had 4 generations all in the same house, and it was really exciting. So then about partway through May, I'm like, okay, my brain is full of stuff. I just need to get it out. Did a huge brain dump. I did come back and refer to this regularly, even though only a few of these things are crossed off. I actually managed to accomplish most of them. And then another weekly, dailies. I just took the day off and the weekend off, and I felt good about it. This is for my gaming channel. I just wanted to have a plan of all the quests that I was doing and in what order. Another weekly that I mostly did not fill out because life was crazy, and that was Memorial Day, so there was no school. And June! We're already to June, and you can tell how crazy June was and the end of May was for me because I never filled this out. Like, I never had the time to go back and say, okay, I want this here, this here, this here. These are the tasks I do want to do this month. These are my projects. This is what I'm waiting to hear back on. And so, like, even my YouTube stuff isn't touch. I think the only reason why these was because when I set this page up, I had already taken care of all those videos. I didn't even finish planning out this week, even though I labeled the days. And then I go into final week of school. Well, besides finals week. I stopped labeling what day was what, though this must be the weekend, even though I drew the lines. The lines were accidental. And then I go to plan the next week and just don't fill anything in. So, like, this is the bare bones skeleton of my weekly setup, or what used to be my weekly setup. Monday of that week, this is finals week. I didn't have any finals. I just had to show up and proctor some finals and maybe have a couple office hours. I really shouldn't have been that stressed, but there was just so much that was happening in the background. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to say just another manic Monday, do a little bit of light hand lettering. E3 was also going on, for those of you in the gaming community, and Nintendo's announcements were on Tuesday. And so one of the game series I really love is Fire Emblem. I learned that they were releasing their next game next spring. Oh, I was hoping it was going to be this fall, but nope, it's next spring. Oh well. And I was trying to prep for a conference I was going to the following week, which is another reason why this week was so hectic. Had another office hour, had proctoring, didn't even get around to planning, because I think this was Thursday, so this should have been Friday. Saturday would have happened, and then I was on a bus to a conference on Sunday. And then this summer overview I'd set up in advance. It's where I first started playing around with this idea for future log. And I did keep it because I liked the way this worked so much. So that is essentially what happened. And then I tried making project pages for all of my summer projects. Some are more filled in than others. And like, that's just the way it happened. And I think if I was actually using this bullet journal all the way through August, I probably would have utilized these spreads a lot more. It's just they were in the wrong bullet journal for me to utilize them properly. And so, dailies, packing list to go to Arizona, because I came back from my conference and spent 2 days back in my apartment and then went to Arizona to be with my family for the summer. And so I was spending 3 months there. I needed to figure out what I needed over those next 3 months. This became it. Then because I decided, June was going to be the last month I was in here. You'll note this is page 212. And in this edition, there are 251 pages. So what to do with all these blank pages? Well, I told myself, one, anything that I want to mock up or if I wanted to create new spreads or whatnot, I could do that in here. And so with my dissertation tracker, this was how I did all the planning for that. And this is helpful to me this summer because it's what I had on hand to practice with. But of course, I didn't need to practice plans as much as I needed to. So I still have a fair amount left in terms of space, and I can still go back and fill these in at any point, just as I think about it. But the only other thing in here is towards the back, and that is my plans for my next bullet journal. I was just trying to come up with ideas for things that I wanted in it. I think almost every bullet journalist who, respects the fact that their needs change over time, tries to do something along this line. And I mean, there's some people who are very set in their ways and know what they want and they don't have to plan this out. But I know a lot of people do. And so this was all I needed to help me get going on my new bullet journal. But yeah, that is my fourth bullet journal. A little more empty than my usual, but I think it's an accurate representation of what was happening with my life. Sometimes I needed to be in here, and sometimes I was just so frazzled I couldn't be in here, which generally made me more frazzled. So maybe that's not such a good idea. But anyways, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch this video and listening to me ramble on and on about my adventures in this bullet journal. But for right now, I want you all to take care, and I will see you all in my next video. Bye.